Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting session on Unacademy CAT-alyst. I am Parikshit, your Quants and LRDI expert on the Unacademy platform. I am a 99.8 plus percentiler in Maharashtra CET as well as the CAT. And in today's session, I'm going to talk about these last 14 days, how you're going to use this last 14 days for maximum benefit in your LRDI section on the D-Day. All the do's, the don'ts, your preparation strategy, questions like how many more mocks should I attempt at this stage? Where should I practice from? Should I have a timer? Should I be practicing more source of questions? Should I be practicing the difficult questions or concentrating more on the easier ones? A lot of questions. And if you're watching me live, you can also put down your questions in your comments and I'll be glad to answer them. But as always, the first thing I tell is give me 10 seconds to ensure that I'm streaming live before we get started with today's session. Okay, I think we are streaming live and we are good to start. So today is November 12th, right? And November 29th is the D-Day, the finale, the grand finale that you have all been waiting for. So we are talking about roughly 14 days left for your CAT because the last 2 or the 3 days you're not going to study. And even if you're going to study, because of the exam pressure, it will not be very effective. So overall, we are looking at 2 weeks remaining from today for your CAT. 2 weeks remaining for today for your CAT. Now the first thing, the most important question that a lot of you have in your mind at this stage is, how many mocks should I give from today? How many more mocks should I give from today? Trust me, let's go back, let's rewind to probably July or August. Why did you start writing the mocks? Why did you start writing the mocks? The purpose of the mocks was twofold, right? The first was to get exposure to the D-Day, to get exposure to the D-Day, to have a feeling of the actual CAT examination, right? And probably because you will be playing a lot of practice matches, you will use different strategies, find out which strategy works best for you, what are your stronger areas, what are your weak areas, and accordingly work on it. The second is, where do you stand? Where do you stand? Basically your percentile. Where do you stand? So basically that's what your percentile is. You need to know where your competitors are with respect to you so that you can prepare and change your strategy if required accordingly. Now with just 14 days left for the CAT, I believe that both of these purposes have been fulfilled, right? So July, you joined mocks, you enroll for some mock exam for these 2 reasons. And at this point of time, with just 14 days left, both of these reasons have been validated. They are no longer required. When I say no longer required, I only mean to say that you know now where are your strong areas, which are your strong areas, which are your weak areas, and you also be having a fair idea of what your percentiles has been in the last 5-6 mocks that you have attempted. Having said that, the purpose of the mocks is more or less fulfilled. So now there is no point attempting more and more mocks, especially if you are not doing very well. Why? Because it will only lower your confidence. Remember, to be able to perform well in an examination or for that matter any important day of your life, it is important that you are high on confidence. So if you were to be high on confidence, it is very important that at this point you stop the mocks. When I say stop the mocks, I only mean to say do not give a mock every day. Probably you can write another 2 or 3 mocks from today till the D-Day. 2 or 3 more max. 2 or 3 more maximum mocks that you wish to write in this last 2 weeks. Now, the question would be, why would I write the mocks? Do I need to know the percentile? Do I need to know where are my strong areas? No, these are things that you already know at this point. Why you are writing the mocks is to get exposure get exposure to completely new questions. So you definitely should not be out of touch with what? With completely new questions. Remember, questions in the mock are questions which you have probably never seen before, never done before, never attempted before, and you would give these mocks under exam conditions. Hence, it is important that you write 2 or 3 maximum mocks, but definitely not more than that in these last 2 weeks. Okay. Now, when I say so, I have made an explicit assumption. What is the assumption that I have made? The assumption that I have made here is you have already given at least around 10 mocks. Around 10 mocks probably you have already given. Doesn't matter whether it is the new format or the old format, but minimum, the more the better. Minimum 10 to 15 mocks you have already written since the time you started your CAT preparation. Now, most of you must have already enrolled or was practicing with some good mock providers. Now, when I talk about good mock providers, these 10 mocks must have given you around how many? Must have given you around probably 600 to 700 questions overall in total. I'm not saying LRDI alone, but I'm saying in total, they must have provided you with 600 to 700 very high quality questions. 600 to 700 very high quality questions. Now, it is very important that you go back and revise these 600, 700 questions. Or if I may add, for LRDI, if you have probably 6 sets, in each of the mocks in the new format, and around 8 sets in the old format. Some of you might have attempted the new mocks as well as the old mock standards, right? So overall, if you have given 10 mocks, let's say there are 70 sets. 70 very, very high quality sets. It is very, very important that these last 14 days, you go back and revise these 70 sets. It is very important that you go back and revise these 70 sets. There is no point at this stage to start something new if you are not able to recollect, if you are not able to recall what you have already done. So in these 70 sets, probably if something is very difficult, so after the mock exam is done, right, you immediately have an analysis. And during the analysis, the questions are marked as moderate, easy or difficult. If a question has been marked as very difficult, there is no point going back and revising that particular set in these last 14 days. Why? Twofold. Reason one, even if you were to revise that very difficult set, chances are the same set will not come in your exam. And if it were to come, and if you were to take 15 minutes to solve that very difficult set, the purpose is not solved because you have taken up 15 minutes of the 40-minute time slot, and hence that is not ideal. On the contrary, the time that you save in writing or in analyzing or in understanding a very difficult question, the same time could be used to solve 2 easy to moderate sets. So hence your time is better managed, better utilized at this junction, which is very, very, very important. Last 14 days, you are short in time. You only do not have to practice LRDI. You have to practice LRDI, quants as well as verbal, right? So you do not have much time. So very, very important that you revise. Also, trust me on one thing. If you are able to revise these 70 sets, okay, these 70 sets, probably some of you might have attempted 15 mocks. So obviously the number will increase. The LRDI sets could go up to around 100 sets. Perfect. That's a very good thing. These 100 sets definitely practice in these last 14 days. And when I say 100 sets, we are looking at a number of, let's say, 7 sets per day. We are looking at that, you divide it by 14, right? So 100 sets you will revise. 14 days are remaining. So 100 by 14, we are looking at approximately 7 sets per day, which is not very easy. Which is not very easy considering that the quality of mock questions are actually moderate to difficult, and most of you would take time to revise this. Okay, that's point one, that you need to revise your previous mocks. Now, point two at this stage. Is the new mocks. I told you, right, that you are gonna write another 2 to 3 mocks maximum. Now, when I say 2 to 3 maximum, right, it is very important that you come up with a strategy. There are a lot of different techniques that you must have tried in the previous mocks. These last 2 or 3 mocks that you write, okay, please make sure that you finalize a strategy. When I say finalize a strategy, I only mean to say minute points which lot of you ignore and which you know can be a blunder, can actually be a crime at this stage. A simple strategy could be, when I land up on my LRDI section, right, by default I am at question number 1, I am at set number 1 by default. Now, one thing that you might wish to finalize it, whether you would actually want to look at all the 5 or 6 sets. 40 minutes exam, so we are expecting 5 to 6 sets. Whether you want to spend the first 2 minutes looking at all the 5 or 6 sets, I would definitely and strongly recommend that you do so. You know what? Your LRDI screen, right? The questions would look like this. On your screen. And let's say there's a question number 9 and then you have a 13 and so on. Now, by default, you land up on your screen in set 1. And you know that question number 1 to 4 is for set 1. Just have a glance at the question, a 15 minutes glance at the set. At least come to know from which topic is it coming, how lengthy is the set, and is it from LR, is it from DI. Just look at the set, probably 15 seconds, 20 seconds, not more than that. After that, 15 seconds are over, go to set 2. Just click on question 5 immediately and then read question 5. When I say read, I just mean glance at the question. Just glance at the question. Do not read it. It will take a lot of time. Similarly, read set 3. Similarly, read set 4. And similarly, have a glance at set 5. Now, having looked at set 5, okay, and probably set 5 or set 6, you must have spent around 90 seconds. But you know what? The good part is, and it is very likely that probably, I'm just giving an example, set number 5 is very easy. It has come from a Venn diagram, a 2-set Venn diagram as an example, and you are very confident about a 2-set Venn diagram. So what will you do? At the end of your, let's say, 90 seconds or the end of your 2 minutes, please make sure that you are starting from set 5. Why do you do that? Because the first set that you are solving should actually be a set that you are able to get it correct. Why? Because you are able to get the first set correct, your confidence level increases, the pressure decreases, and you know what? Higher the pressure, lesser are the chances of an aspirant doing well. So moment you solve one set correctly in the first 10 minutes, getting all 4 questions correct, your confidence level increases and now you are better prepared to handle set number 2, the second set, whichever you decide to attempt. And remember, because you have spent 2 minutes in looking at all the sets, in glancing at all the sets, you also have it in mind which set you are gonna attempt next. So very, very important that you follow this strategy in the next 2-3 mocks that you wish to appear before your CAT, so that any fine tuning that is required before the actual exam is done, okay? And on the D-Day, there is absolutely no confusion. You have it in your mind that the first 2 minutes you will glance at the questions, you will pick up the easy ones and then move accordingly as per your choice of easy to difficult. Okay, now this is on the D-Day. Now, you know what? If you practice something in the next over a course of 14 days, then on the 29th, when you actually sit for the exam, this strategy will do wonders. So what do you do? So in these next 14 days that you're going to spend, right? In these next 14 days that you are going to spend, what I'll suggest is try breaking your study time into slots of 40. Study time. Try breaking your study time into slots of 40. 40 minutes. Slots of 40 minutes. 40 minutes continuous, no WhatsApp, no mobile. It should be uninterrupted. So what do you do? Have a timer on. Have a timer on 40 minutes. So Ayushi is asking 4 hours. Ayushi, I'm saying 40 minutes, not 4 hours. 40 minutes, right? Have a timer on. Have a timer on. Timer should be of 40 minutes. And in these 40 minutes, okay, pick up 6 sets. Pick up 6 sets. Now, from where will you pick up the 6 sets? Where will you pick up the 6 sets? Remember, these 6 sets should not be a new mock question. If you want to be high on confidence, if you want to be on a positive note while writing the exam, just make sure that these 6 sets are revision topics. Sets which you have already done before, because as I said now, the last 14 days should mostly be on revision. So what do you do? Probably wherever you are practicing from a book, or probably you have enrolled with a coaching institute, or probably you have enrolled with Unacademy. What do? You take up 6 different topics. As an example, let's say the first topic is games and tournaments. The second topic is, let's say, Venn diagram. The third topic is, let's say, networks, roots and networks, okay, and so on. Fifth topic is, let's say, a percentage DI case. So pick up 6 different topics, okay, and solve one set each. So you by now must be knowing which level of difficulty you are comfortable with. If you think that, okay, level of difficulty 3 is not for me, fine. At this juncture, do not practice level of difficulty 3 questions. Absolutely no point. So what do you do? Probably level of difficulty 1 and 2. Pick up one set from each of these topics, okay? And put in a note on your Excel that in the first 40 minutes of my day, I am going to practice 6 sets, okay? The next thing that will be in your mind is, okay, are 40 minutes enough to solve 6 sets? Probably not. I'm not saying 6 sets 40 minutes are enough. But what you also need to ensure in these 40 minutes is, do not go in serial order. Do not go in serial order. Not in serial. Do not in serial order. Rather, what you would do is, you would pick up from the 6 sets, 3 sets or 4 sets which you can solve within the span of 40 minutes. And after the 40 minutes are over, what will you do? You come back and let's say you could not solve 2 sets, come back and solve those sets once again. The sets which you could not solve. Now, why do I say so? There are 2 folds to it. If in the next 14 days, you continuously do mixed practice, it's not Venn diagram alone, it's not games and tournaments alone, but every time you sit down to study, you pick up mixed questions. You know what? At the end of the 7th day, probably, you will realize that there are certain topics which you are very comfortable with. Probably at the end of the 7th day, you would realize that every time you sit with a timer at your home, you are able to solve the circular arrangements correctly. That should boost your confidence, because you know on the exam day, given a choice between a circular arrangement and probably, let's say, a cube question, a cube caselet, you know what? I have practiced. The last 7 days of my analysis tells me circular arrangement is something I'm more comfortable with. So what I'm going to do on the exam day, a circular arrangement, if it comes, I'm going to pick up first. I'm going to pick up earlier, first, before a cube case. So definitely stress on this. And once the 40 minutes timer is over, right? What you do? You definitely come back and make sure that you correct your own answers. When I say correct, check how many you are getting correct. Because at the end of the day, if you ask me, a lot of you often ask me this question: how many questions or how many sets should we be solving in LRDI? Remember, this time it is just a 40-minute exam. So in 40 minutes, experts are predicting that we will get 5 to 6 sets. 5 to 6 sets. I make an assumption here. What is the assumption? The difficulty level of the LRDI is same as the last 2 years. The difficulty level of the LRDI is same as the last 2 years. Then how many should you solve? How many should you solve? You should solve somewhere around 3 to 3.5 sets in your exam. So while practicing also, please make sure that you are trying to reach this target. You are trying to reach this target. Out of 6 sets that you are picking up, you are trying to solve 3.5 sets, around 3.5 sets. This is the target, assuming that the difficulty level is the same as the last 2 years. Now one more thing. Here. I told you that when you are practicing at home, you are actually revising old sets. This means that these are sets which you have done at least once before. So in your subconscious mind, probably when you see a new question, okay, when you see a new question, a case that you are practicing now, you are seeing a set on your screen. You know what? In your subconscious mind, somewhere, some portion of the set is already there. Why am I saying so? Because you have already read this once. You have already done this set once. Now that means your speed should actually be a bit fast. At home, if you are revising old set, you should actually be targeting more than 3 sets. Probably you should be targeting 4 sets. Why? Because you have already done this sets once and now you are just revising. And because you are just revising, you are making sure that your speed is faster compared to the speed when you solve for the first time. Remember, in the CAT, you are going to read the set for the first time. At home, if you are revising, you are reading the set probably for the second time you have already done before. So the D-Day, the actual CAT, your speed will be a bit slower compared to the speed at home. So in the CAT, if your target is 3.5 sets, at home your target should be around 4 sets. Why? Because at home you do not have the extra exam pressure as well. So very, very important that these last 14 days you spend a lot of time on revision. Trust me, there is no point at this stage practicing something new if you cannot recall. Let's say the mocks you gave in July. In July, you gave a lot of mocks. In August, you gave a lot of mocks. In September, you gave a lot of mocks. But now it's completely blank. You have absolutely no clue what those questions were. Then do not write a new mock at this stage. Okay? I hope I answered your second question. So what is the second answer to my second question? The second question was, where is my practice source? My practice source is the previous mocks. So previous mocks, what I already talked about in the last 5 minutes, plus previous year questions of CAT. That's it. You don't need anything more than this in the last 14 days. Previous year questions of CAT, when I say, especially for LRDI, it should be 2015 onwards to 2019. 2015 onwards to 2019. So how many years are we talking about? We are talking about 5 years of question papers. Minimum 5 years of question papers. And remember, 2017, 18 and 19, there were 2 slots. So you will basically get what? 2 question papers is. This last 3 years, you will actually get 6 papers. And then 2015 and 16 makes it 7 and 8. So total of 8 question papers. Definitely make sure that nothing is left behind and you put a lot of emphasis in solving these last 8 sets of question papers. 5 years, but some years have got a morning shift and an afternoon shift. So you have basically get 2 slots, 2 sets of question papers for that particular year. Okay. The next topic that I'm going to focus on is, what are my important topic areas at this stage? Very, very important. Okay. Now, I'm going to break this into 2 parts. I am going to break LRDI into 2 parts. Okay. I'm going to break LRDI into 2 parts, and then tell you which are the important areas that you need to focus on in these last 14 days. So LRDI, one will be DI and another will be LR. When we talk about DI, this is probably the traditional DI sets. The traditional DI sets. And then you have others. And then you have got the others. Okay. Similarly, when you talk about, I'm going to speak about them. Okay. Don't worry. When you talk about LR, again, I'm going to break up into traditional LR sets and the puzzles. Okay. Now let's focus on them. What are traditional DI sets? Example of traditional DI sets are bar diagrams, pie charts, games and tournaments, cubes. So basically, if I have to sum up, these are sets which you see every time you open a book. They have categorized this into chapters: bar diagrams, tabular formats, games and tournaments, cubes, roots and networks, if-then operators. So all type of questions which are there in any typical book and have come a lot of time in the last 25 years. These are the sort of questions that you are going to focus on in this 14 days. Why? Now the question will be why? Should I not be focusing on the puzzles, the tough questions, or probably puzzles which I've never done before? No. Why should you focus on, let's say, a pie chart? Why should you focus on, let's say, a pie chart? Let me give you a very basic example. You know what? If a pie chart comes, you know that the pie chart will probably be related with percentage increase, okay? Percentage growth. There are two pie charts. They're talking about sales revenue. These are the type of questions which the remaining 2 lakh candidates, okay, apart from you, is definitely gonna answer it. Why? Because they are gonna find this very, very, very easy. On the contrary, let's say you left out the topic cubes. And you know that this is a traditional set which has come many a times in the exam. You will not be able to answer the caselet on cubes, while the remaining 2 lakh students have actually answered it. Will you be at a disadvantage? Definitely yes. So these last 14 days, focus on more on these bar diagrams, pie charts, games and tournaments, roots and networks, all the traditional caselets. Why? The second reason is, first reason I already told you, you would be at a disadvantage if you don't do it. Second reason is, there is a high chance that the concept will repeat. When I say repeat, not the exact caselet, but the exact concept, percentage change in percentage change, percentage point difference, such questions, right? Successive percentage increase. The concept remains the same. So if you're gonna practice more on such caselets, there is a very high chance that if it comes, it will be exactly the same concept or probably a similar concept, and hence you are gonna get it correct. You are gonna able to get it correct. On the contrary, what can happen? On the contrary, let's say these last 14 days, you decide to focus a lot on the puzzles. Now, when I say puzzles, what do I mean? I basically mean questions which are basically not into any specific category. This is not a circular arrangement question. This is not a linear arrangement question. This is not a selection or distribution, but some puzzle. Probably a man killing another person, and then they will ask you which man is alive. Some sort of puzzle. Now, whatever puzzle you do, you might do thousands of puzzle in these last few days, or you have already done. But the probability of getting the same puzzle is very less. Hence, definitely, whatever you know in puzzles is good at this point of time. Last 14 days, do not focus on puzzles. Rather, focus on concepts. Concepts like linear arrangement, circular arrangement, distributions, right? Selections, such questions. Venn diagrams, typical LR sets. And you know the reason again. The reason is same as the DI caselets I talked about. If it comes, the concept will remain exactly the same or mostly the same, and hence getting a repeating set which you already know, the probability is high compared to a puzzles. compared to the puzzles. So someone is asking, sir, abhi kaun kaun se topic pe zyada dhyan de? So Dhruv, that's what I am trying to answer. Focus on the traditional chess. When it comes to DI, focus on bar diagrams, pie charts, Venn diagrams, linear arrangement, circular arrangement, distribution, selection, and not on the puzzles. Not on some puzzle which is probably maximum minima type case list. Remember, at most, how many persons can enter this room? At least how many? So at most, at least, if you look at the last 25 years, probably in 20 years, you will see at least one set which deals with questions on at most, at least, and so on. So focus on such questions where the predictability, okay, and the probability of getting the same set or a similar set is high. Okay, very, very, very important. Okay, so that's about the important topic areas. That's about the important topic areas. Next is strategizing for the D-Day. Now, having done all, said all, you practiced all. Remember, these are all practice matches. Whatever you do till the 28 are basically practice matches. The finale, the grand finale, is on the 29th of November. So it is very, very important that on this day, there is some strategy in your mind. Okay, so some people are asking questions. Don't worry, I will take up your questions. The last 5 minutes, I will take up questions. Okay, let me finish this and then I'm going to take up your questions. Okay, the grand finale. Now, on the day of the grand finale, definitely have a strategy in mind. Have a strategy in mind. The classic example I might wish to give you here is probably you have got the evening slot. You have got the evening slot. Okay, you know what? Morning slot, whether you like it or not, your curiosity will make you search or make you speak to people or aspirants who have already attempted the morning set. You might be knowing your friend and they might tell you, I got 5 sets in LRDI. Okay. You remember, you are here, you are in the evening slot. Who is setting the paper? I am. Indore is setting the paper. It is very much possible that in the morning slot there are 5 sets and in the evening slot there are 6 sets. There are 6 sets. Very much possible. This is just an example. Just an example. Not sure, but a possibility. Now, on the day of your exam, you know there are 5 sets and accordingly you focus your mind, you train your mind when you enter the exam hall. 5 sets करना ही करना है, ये 5 sets करना है. और last 2 minutes में you realize there was actually a 6th set that day gone, and probably the 6th set is very easy. So first figure out how many sets are there. First figure out how many sets are there. It might be I am Indore is kind to you, I am Indore is good to you, and they say doesn't matter यार, morning वाले को 5 दिया था तो तुमको भी 5 देगा. Fine, I am Indore is good on you, but that did not be the case. So पहले चीज, first thing you need to do is find out how many sets are there. Accordingly, do not do 40 by 6. Do not say 40 minutes. Let's say 6 sets are coming. So around 7 minutes per set. 7 minutes per set. This will be a blunder. This will be a blunder and you will not be able to solve questions because of the exam pressure. Remember, out of the 6 sets, you only need to solve 3 or 4. You only need to solve 3 or 4. So definitely do not give 7 minutes. You probably would be taking 9 minutes per set. That is very fine. Why? Because you anyway cannot be attempting all the 6 sets. So 9 minutes or 8 minutes per set, you end up with 32 minutes. 32 minutes, let's say you have done 3 or 4 sets, and last 7-8 minutes, you probably would take time in a set which you cannot solve, So that is perfectly fine. But 9 or 10 minutes per set is still something that you have. If the number of sets increases, let's say on the exam day, I am Indore wants to give you a very big surprise. You know what? It gave you 8 sets. It gave you 8 sets. Does it change? No. You still gonna be able to solve only 3 or 4 sets. You still will be able to solve only 3 or 4 sets. The good part is, if there are 8, I have more to choose from. I have more to choose from. So you should rather feel happy and not panic. Because if it is 8 sets, it is going to be 8 sets for almost everyone. Almost everyone. Do you get the point? Okay, let's take some questions. So Chandrika is asking, I have covered the LRDI syllabus, but still I'm not confident in a subject. I'm afraid of this subject. So Chandrika, it's very important. There is no syllabus as such, right? What is LRDI? Unlike quants, where I know there are 20 chapters or probably 25 chapters, in LRDI, there is no syllabus as such. There is no syllabus as such, right? So what you gonna do? These last 14 days, do not pick up anything new. Just revise the old sets. Just revise all the old sets that you have done. You probably have done 100, 200 sets. Just revise these 200 sets and make sure that you are very, very confident on them, including the previous year questions and the mocks that you already attempted. Trust me, it's gonna do a lot of help to your confidence. Trust me, definitely make sure that you follow this. Next, Dhruv is asking, sectional cutoff क्या होगा इस बार? Dhruv, no human being on earth, right? No one other than the God can answer this sectional cutoff क्या होगा. अगर होता तो everyone would have known and everyone would have got or attempted at least that many correct. No one knows. The sectional cutoff would vary depending on the difficulty level of the paper. So as I say, if the difficulty level is same as 2018 and 2019 CAT, okay, you will try to solve around 50%. You will try to get correct. Whatever the number of sets, around 6 sets we are assuming. Out of 6, around 3 to 3.5. 3.5 to be on the safer side. Around 3.5 out of the 6, you got to try to make it correct, assuming that the difficulty level is the same as the last 2 years. Yes, 10 minute दे रहा हूं सर, चलेगा ना? So Dhruv, depends how many you are getting correct. अगर 10 मिनट देने के बाद सही आंसर आ रहा है तो it's perfectly fine, you are doing well. But if you are giving 10 minutes and you are not getting the answer, at this point you should re-strategize. Is it worth to focus on this particular set for another 5 minutes? Right? This is a very important question. You know what? 7 minutes are over. Let me just repeat it quickly. 7 minutes over. Okay, in a case there. 7 minutes over in a case there. And you have not got the answer. What do you do? The next 5 minutes, what do you do? Do I continue or do I move to a new set? If 7 minutes are over, if you find yourself any time in this scenario, 7 minutes are over, you have not yet got the answer, what to do? Ask yourself, take a pause, ask yourself, if I spend another 5 minutes, will I get at least 3 to 4 questions correct? Will I get at least 3 questions correct? If the answer to this is yes, 7 minutes over, but I spent another 3 or 4 minutes because I'm midway through. Continue this, get the remaining 3 questions correct. But at the end of 7 minutes, you are not sure. I ask you, what will you do? How much did you get? You will say, I have no clue. I might be correct, I might be wrong. Then you should definitely, and I repeat, definitely move to the next set. But if you've already solved midway, then please continue the set. Why? Because even if you start a new set, it will take minimum 5 minutes to get 3 questions correct. And here you are sure that if you devote another 5 minutes, you will get 3 questions correct. So continue the set. Okay? But keep asking yourself and definitely have a timer. Definitely have a note on the timer. The timer is there for you. And these 14 days when you practice, do not practice LRDI without the timer on. You might not be attempting a mock, that's perfectly fine. But definitely have the mobile timer with you in front of you. Have the mobile timer, put a 40-minute timer and start solving the DI-LR case list. As I said at the start of the lecture, 40 minutes ka slot pe you do your studies. 40 minutes. I don't know how many hours. If you want to study, let's say 2 hours DI-LR every day, 2 hours, I'm sure it will be more than that. 2 hours LRDI every day, break it into 3 slots. 40, 40, 40. Morning 40, afternoon 40 and evening 40. Morning 40, afternoon 40 and evening 40. Okay? So when I say 40, I don't mean only 40 minutes you study. I mean 40 minutes you study quants, 40 minutes DI-LR and 40 minutes verbal. Get the point? And this last 14 days, it is also very important that you are not sleep deprived. Okay, sleep well, take care of your health, because this is the time you would not want to fall sick. Do not take a lot of pressure. Remember, CAT is just the first exam. After the CAT, you have got the IIFT, SNAP, Nursing Munje, CMAT, you have got MyCAT, so many exams lined up. So it's not the end of the world. So the lesser the pressure you take, the more, the better your exams will be. Okay, I think that's it for today. That's it for today. I hope you all enjoyed the session. You all liked the session. There is some takeaway from this session, and please make sure whatever takeaway you found is good. Okay, please practice it. You cannot be practicing it directly on the exam day. Whatever takeaway you had, you found that it is worth practicing. Please make sure that you practice these next 14 days, because as they say, practice makes a man perfect. Okay, with that note, I will end this session. If you have liked my video, please do hit the like button. That motivates and encourages us to make more and more videos. Thank you so much, and I will see you tomorrow morning 10:30 a.m. for another exciting session of mine. Till then, study well, CAT is near, and take care and stay safe. Goodbye.